Thankfully, nothing like that around here. We do have another cold front coming in tomorrow, but it's going to move through without any storms. It will bring a nice cool down to the area and get rid of this fog. This morning, we're starting off with some milder temperatures in the 50s, but also some very foggy conditions. A dense fog advisory through about 9 o'clock this morning. Those visibility is reduced to a quarter of a mile or less. So as we get closer to 9 o'clock, you'll slowly start to see those clouds beginning to lift, seeing some sunshine along with some blue sky. And then as we get into the afternoon, that's when the majority of those clouds get blown out with a warm breeze coming in out of the southwest. That's going to drive temperatures close to 80 degrees before those temperatures slowly start to drop later on this evening. By 9 p.m., we're in the upper 60s. And with that front coming in so early tomorrow morning, that's going to allow those temperature readings to cool off. We'll talk more in detail what you can expect for that stroke of midnight, those temperatures, and also when that next chance for rain returns coming up in just a few minutes.
Checking with meteorologist Elita Loresca. You're keeping an eye on the fog, but I've also just been thinking about this weather that we've had, Elita, even going back toward Christmas Eve. From then on, it's just been kind of rough for us here in Houston.
It has been. The past couple of weeks has been extremely active for much of southeast Texas, but even beyond that. Thankfully, as we close out the year and welcome the new year, we do have a few days at least to clean up and be with our loved ones with any sort of severe weather threat. We do have storms back in the forecast over the weekend. Too early to tell whether or not we'll see any sort of severe thunderstorms, but of course, as we continue to fine-tune that forecast and get closer to the weekend, we'll keep you informed and posted as to whether or not we will see the return of some strong thunderstorms. This morning, we're seeing the return of some widespread dense fog, and that definitely has reduced visibility. Many of us waking up to visibility is reduced to less than a quarter of a mile, and it will stay this way for the next few hours. So the dense fog advisory lasting until about 9 o'clock before we start to see some improvements. A live look from our Memorial camera. Can't really make out downtown. Temperatures in the upper 50s. We've got a light breeze coming in out of the south at 7 miles per hour. But what is going to help with our visibility is strengthening winds coming in out of the south and west. Later this morning during the afternoon, gusts closer to 20 to 25 miles per hour is going to help thin out those clouds, bring back the sunshine, but also help to warm us up. We're at 60 degrees right now in Galveston, where those wind speeds are expected to increase, gusting between 20 to 25 miles per hour, as I just mentioned. And you can see the low clouds departing mid to late morning. By 12 o'clock or so, we've got sunshine. Notice the little shift in the breeze out of the south and west. That's going to help promote some warmer conditions out ahead of the front. But notice what happens as that frontal boundary starts to make its way toward the Brazos Valley late tonight. We start to see the return of some low clouds. The winds will be calm enough for some of that fog to gather, mainly along Interstate 10. And then as that front continues to slide through, may perhaps pick up a spotty shower, maybe some heavy mist along with some of that fog. Otherwise, most of those clouds are out of here before many of us wake up tomorrow morning. So that final day of 2024 looks to be a good one. That strong northerly breeze is going to limit how warm temperatures get. So we won't see a repeat of today's highs in the 80s. We're starting off the morning in the mid to upper 50s, some lower 60s along the coastline. And then by this afternoon, that southwest wind is going to drive temperatures somewhere in the upper 70s to low 80s. I think that frontal boundary ends up making its way across the Panhandle area this afternoon. We're going to be on the warm and humid side. Take a look at Del Rio. Those of our friends and family out toward Laredo at 93 degrees this afternoon. But again, that front moves through sometime around sunrise tomorrow, and that's going to allow a nice drop in temperatures. Amarillo tomorrow morning, 28 degrees. We won't get that chilly. We'll manage to see eventually temperatures drop into the 40s by Wednesday morning for that first full day of 2025. So we're at 64 degrees tomorrow afternoon due to that strong northerly breeze, and we're talking wind speeds between 15 to 20 miles per hour, nothing too gusty. So by 7 p.m., as some of you gather with your family and friends on New Year's Eve, temperature readings will be in the upper 50s. And if you plan doing that all night thing, but by midnight, those temperature readings will be in the upper 40s. So it will be noticeably cooler, chilly, if you will. And then that first thing Wednesday morning, we've got temperature readings in the mid 40s, low 60s for the afternoon highs. A gradual warm up leading up to the weekend out ahead of our next cold front. Right now, we do have a few storms in the forecast, some scattered thunderstorms on Sunday. And then behind that, there are some signs that we've got some temperature readings that will be falling. Once again, those overnight lows dropping somewhere into the low 40s. And by next Wednesday, we're starting to sniff out some very chilly air starting to make its way across southeast Texas, where that's only going to allow those highs next week somewhere into the upper 40s, guys.
Elita, thank you. All right, we got a dense fog advisory in effect for our area. Let's go over to Elita Loresca and take a look at when that might expire.
Yeah, Jeff, that dense fog advisory expires at 9 a.m. But the observation sites were sniffing out some patches of fog late last night. And as of this hour, you can see how widespread that fog has become. We're seeing more of that fog spreading northward, some newly added counties in that dense fog advisory. We've got Austin County now built in, as well as Waller and Colorado County. Montgomery County, as well as San Jacinto and Polk counties, were already issued with the initial advisory from late last night. And you can see many of you down along the coastline now also included in that dense fog advisory until 9 o'clock. That's when we anticipate most of the fog to lift. You can see that with future track. It's also showing that most of the clouds lifting out as those winds start to pick up. By this afternoon, we've got a southwest wind that's going to help drive temperatures up, but also allow for some fog to return later on tonight as those winds slowly start to back off and a cold front makes its way down toward the Brazos Valley. We'll see some of that fog gathering, but I don't think it's going to be quite as widespread. And by the time you wake up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, the majority of that fog should be gone, as the cold front should be swinging through during the early part of the day. That means some of the cooler air behind that front is going to be pushing into our area. Definitely not going to be quite as muggy or as sticky as it's going to be today and through the afternoon. This morning, we're waking up to temperature readings generally in the upper 50s. I know yesterday many of you warmed into the upper 60s to low 70s. It will be noticeably warmer this afternoon as that southwest wind drives temperatures way up. We're talking 56 right now in Sealy. Fast forward to 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we've got temperatures pushing into the low 80s. 84 out here in Hallettsville, as well as Bastrop, one of our warmer spots. And then closer to the coastline is where we'll find temperature readings somewhere into the mid 70s. Now, overnight, temperatures won't drop off all that much as that front will take its time for that cooler air to spill through. By the afternoon, that's going to limit how warm temperatures get, as those northerly winds will be picking up between 15 to 20 mile per hour winds. Could see some slightly higher gusts. And as the sun goes down, temperature readings expected to fall from those temperatures in the upper 60s to temperatures into the mid 50s. Make sure you've got a jacket handy. Maybe want to dress in layers, because by midnight, those temperatures will be tumbling somewhere into the upper 40s. No rain in the forecast as we close out the final days of 2024. But by Thursday, we've got a slim chance for some wet weather. Chance for thunderstorms looking a little bit better for the weekend as we slowly start to see a fairly large storm system emerge over the Pacific Northwest late this week. And then you can see it as it continues to push toward the east. That's going to send us our next cold front. And it is going to cover several states where we could be dealing with some strong and even severe thunderstorms. Too early to tell whether or not we'll be on the tail end of that front, where those storms won't be quite as strong, but we'll keep you posted. But just know that over the weekend, there could be some rain for some of your outdoor activities. I know many of you are getting back to work, back to school, back to the routine after this weekend. So many of you doing those kind of last minute errands, getting you back to work and back to school. Those temperature readings after the weekend will be tumbling behind Sunday's front. In fact, some of the coolest air returning across the area, where those temperature readings by the middle of next week will only be warming somewhere into the upper 40s. Back to you.
Elita, thank you.
All right, weather-wise for today, we've got a dense fog advisory until 9 o'clock. It's pretty widespread, so please take it easy on the roads for those of you that have to get out there early this morning. By this afternoon, we're warming up, not too far from the record this afternoon. Look for a high of 80 degrees, but a cold front moving in early tomorrow morning are going to send temperatures back down. Slight chance for some wet weather later on this week. Heading into the weekend, another round of storms in the forecast. I'll have details on that coming up in just a few minutes, but first, your Texas Highs Report, sponsored by A&A Gen Pro.